Streaming live across the country, tackling the topics everyone is talking about online. Share, engage, and interact. This is Newsfeed Now.
Good morning. Thanks so much for hanging out with us this morning. I missed you guys yesterday. I'm back today. I'm your host, Hillary Hunt. Today's top trending stories include President Joe Biden's first primetime address tonight about COVID-19, a study to see if your brain can actually be retrained to regain your taste and smell if you lost it when you contracted the virus, and a new graduation requirement that's catching a lot of attention. But we've got a lot going on this morning. Of course, we want to start at our nation's capital. President Biden will chart his administration's path out of the pandemic in his first primetime address tonight. It actually marks 1 year since the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a global pandemic. Today, more than 500,000 Americans have lost their life to this virus. Washington correspondent Jesse Turner has a look at what he's going to say tonight.
I'm going to talk about what comes next.
President Joe Biden plans to launch a new phase of his administration's response to the COVID-19 pandemic during his first primetime address tonight.
Explain what we will do as a government and what we will ask of the American people.
The president's speech comes on the heels of the passage of his nearly $2 trillion American Rescue Plan, his first legislative victory.
I give full credit to Joe Biden, because this was his vision.
Vice President Kamala Harris and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer commend President Biden for his leadership.
Help is on the way. You will receive $1,400 checks by the end of March.
But Republicans aren't celebrating.
This is actually one of the worst pieces of legislation I've seen pass here in the time I've been in the Senate.
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says the bill passed both chambers without any GOP support for a reason.
This is a classic example of big government Democratic overreach in the name of COVID relief.
And Iowa Senator Joni Ernst argues the partisan process isn't a good look for the new administration.
Unfortunately, Biden's promise to be the bipartisan president, a president for all Americans, is going out the window.
Both sides will begin aggressive campaigns to showcase the contents of the plan to the American people, which President Biden plans to sign into law tomorrow.
There is real reason for hope, folks.
We want to bring in Jesse Turner joining us from our nation's capital. And Jesse, before we start talking about the president's speech that's coming up tonight, I want to talk about COVID relief. A lot of people are soon going to be seeing checks in their bank account because of the passing of that bill.
Yeah, most definitely. You just heard from Schumer there that those stimulus checks are going to be hitting bank accounts by the end of the month. And then another important deadline is just this weekend. And so President Biden signing the bill tomorrow will make sure that those weekly emergency unemployment benefits will not expire on the 14th, which they were set to do.
You could say right in the nick of time, because like you said, the 14th, it was going to run out. But let's also talk about today is the 1 year anniversary of the declaration of this being a global pandemic, COVID-19. And the president's set to speak tonight. Do we know any of his talking points at all?
It sounds like from what we're getting from the White House that first it's going to take a look back. So like you mentioned, a year ago, that's when the WHO declared it a global pandemic. And then that also meant that was when a lot of our countries started to shut down. Obviously, a lot has happened since then. One of the things that President Biden is definitely going to mention is just the different sacrifices Americans have had to make. And then, of course, too, the ultimate sacrifice with more than, 500,000 Americans losing their lives to this virus. And so it'll kind of be a eulogy of sorts. And then the president will also use the address to talk about what his administration has done so far since January, especially the vaccination effort. And then he'll shoot to the future. He's going to talk about different things that his administration would like to see from the American people. This, of course, comes at a time where a lot of states across the country have been lifting certain restrictions like mask mandates. And so he's definitely going to make a point, I think, to touch on that and say, the pandemic is still here. We're still trying to vaccinate people. And so to do that, we kind of all have to work together.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Jesse Turner joining us from our nation's capital. And Jesse just touched on vaccinations. And as more people get that COVID-19 vaccine, there are still questions about the best method to actually prove that you've gotten the shot. Mike Colombo gives us a look at some different vaccination verification cards you could see.
If you hold this card, you are part of an exclusive, albeit growing club. Nearly 30% of people living in the United States have received at least a dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. And these cards are the proof you've gotten the shot.
And so that's the official card that the CDC puts out. So it's been validated by the federal government. You'll notice a small sort of number and lettering system on it, and that's the official markings of the federal government.
Dr. Alex Garza heads the St. Louis Metropolitan Pandemic Task Force. Today we asked him about companies selling COVID-19 vaccination ID cards. One of those companies is Castle Brand. It's selling a real vaccination ID card. For $19.95, you can order a card the company says will provide verified physical evidence of an individual's vaccination status, complete with sophisticated anti-counterfeit technology to ensure authenticity and peace of mind. On the Castle Brand website, it acknowledges the CDC offers vaccination cards, but claims they're highly susceptible to fraud and can be easily forged and are prone to damage or destruction. It also notes the company is not part of the Vaccine Credential Initiative, a group of healthcare organizations, tech firms, nonprofits, and startups working to empower consumers to conveniently access, store, and share digital COVID-19 vaccination records.
Now, there could be products out there that are more durable than a paper card. Yep, I get it. And I'm sure there are people out there that are making false cards, and yes, this card could be manipulated, but as of right now, that is the only valid card that demonstrates whether you've been vaccinated against COVID-19.
When it comes to protecting the card you receive from the CDC,
I don't see anything wrong with if you feel like you want to protect your card by laminating it. I don't think there's any issues with that.
For now, Garza says he doesn't think vaccine documentation beyond what the CDC provides is necessary.
So that should really be the only documentation that you need at this time.
The CDC recommends taking a photo of your vaccine card as a backup. It also urges you to avoid posting pictures of those cards online. If you misplace your card, they say to go back to where you got the shot and try to get another one. We reached out to the CDC and Castle Brand for this story, but have yet to hear back. I'm Mike Colombo, Fox 2 News.
Thanks, Mike. Let's stick with the coronavirus pandemic. For some people who contracted COVID-19, if you're like me, you lost your sense of taste, you lost your sense of smell. Luckily, I got mine back, but a lot of people haven't gotten theirs back at all. Doctors at Washington University are researching if people can retrain their brain to get those senses back. Here's Mandy Murphy with more.
A serious safety and quality of life issue persists for some people who've had COVID. Between 40 and 80% of people who've had COVID lose their sense of taste and smell.
The good news is that for most of them, after 2 to 3 weeks, their sense of smell and taste comes back, but not for everybody. So we think that probably 5 to 7% of people 2 months, 3 months after their COVID, they still have smell and taste problems.
Dr. Jay Piccirillo sees it a lot. People can no longer appreciate food or common odors you take for granted.
A mother describes to me her embarrassment when she couldn't smell her baby's diaper.
Other patients say the smell they do have is a constant bad odor, like smoke.
I had one patient who said, I would rather not smell anything at all than to have this distortion of my smell.
Could this be permanent?
Well, so the pandemic's only a year, so we don't have long-term, but it absolutely could be a permanent problem, the sense of taste and smell disturbance that they're experiencing.
Dr. Piccirillo is now enrolling participants in a research study to see if you can retrain the brain to smell again. Bo Anderson, a baseball player at Washington University, is taking part.
I started the study about a week ago.
He lost his taste and smell in November when he had COVID. He can taste some things now, but can't smell anything.
You can't necessarily smell whether or not your food's burning.
He and others choose 4 essential oils they smell twice a day, such as rose, lemon, cloves, or eucalyptus.
The rose one I can actually, get a pretty distinct odor from, which I was very surprised about.
About half of the participants are also getting visual training to see if looking at something will trigger smell. As a baseball player, Bo says smell is something he really misses.
Just smell the fresh air or smell the baseball field when I'm out there playing, and it's obviously not a major thing that I can't smell at the moment, but it's just something that I'd like to get back, of course.
I thought one of my friends was crazy when she was doing this sensory training, but it seems like it's really working. Well, let's switch gears here. Words are power, and advocates say that hate speech can lead to hate crimes, and currently hate crimes against Asian Americans are on the rise. Felicia Bolton has more on why.
And thanks for giving my country COVID.
From Oakland to San Francisco and all the way to New York, Asian Americans are reporting more hate crimes against them in the United States. Dr. Russell Zhang is a professor of Asian American Studies at San Francisco State University. He says his family has experienced recent attacks as well.
My wife was running on a trail and someone just actually blocked her way and coughed deliberately into her face.
Dr. Zhang is a co-founder of Stop AAPI Hate. His group tracks reports of hate crime in all 50 states. He says since March last year, the group has logged more than 3,000 incidents reported. He believes hate speech and derogatory terms like China virus or Kung flu has led to attacks that we see today.
As that term became commonplace, people made the automatic assumption that, oh, the virus is Chinese, and if we see Chinese people, they're a threat because they're the disease carriers. And when they feel threatened, they go into flight or fight mode. They begin to attack us or they shun us. And that's what we saw time and time again.
John Yang is the executive director of Asian Americans Advancing Justice. He says although we are seeing these attacks now, racism against Asians has been around for years.
And the last thing with respect to prevention is making sure that people understand that Asian Americans are part of America, that we aren't seen as this perpetual foreigner.
Some major cities are reporting an uptick in anti-Asian American hate crime. The New York Police Department reports 28 crimes in 2020, up from 3 in 2019. Advocates are offering a response.
Here, our organization offers what's called bystander intervention training. And so what that is it allows people, if they see an act of hate, to respond to it. Now, certainly we don't want people to be a superhero and jump in and start a fight or anything like that. But there's certainly a lot of small techniques that people can take to de-escalate this situation.
Well, an Uber driver with a close to 6,000 rides under his belt and quite a good rating with those ride-sharing company is now thinking about never picking up another passenger. And that's all because of what happened after picking up 3 passengers in San Francisco. Hazik Madoon has that story for us.
It is a video of a wild altercation during an Uber ride that has gone viral.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Yeah, it was something I could have never imagined.
That is the voice of the man behind the wheel in the video. He told me by phone that this happened Sunday afternoon, shortly after he picked up 3 female passengers at San Bruno Avenue and Felton Street in San Francisco's Bayview district. He says shortly after they got into his car, things started going wrong when the subject of wearing a mask came up.
The moment I asked for the mask, they asked me if I have a spare one. To which I replied politely, I don't have it. And then the lady, on the video who pulled the mask on, tried to snatch my phone. She started all this. She started cursing me for not having a mask.
In the video, you see the same passenger that he is describing coughing near his face.
I didn't know it's all happening so fast. I just wanted to get over with it.
The tumultuous ride lasted around 10 minutes. He says the women decided to get out of his car at San Bruno and Silver Avenue, but not before spraying something in his vehicle to remember them by.
That's when they got off. One lady, the lady on the red, pepper sprayed probably for 3-4 seconds.
Pepper spray?
Yeah, that was definitely a pepper spray, I know. So it was pepper spray. And then I realized this is too much. I need to contact police.
San Francisco police confirmed receiving the report and told me that their robbery division is investigating the incident. I reached out to Uber for a statement. No reply. The unnerving incident has caused the driver to have second thoughts about continuing his relationship with the ride-sharing service.
I'm not really sure about continuing with Uber or doing another job or anything like that.
Hazik Madoon, Cron 4 News.
I sit there and I'm like, what is wrong with people? Let's move on. In the South, a bill that would require high school students to take a U.S. citizenship test to actually graduate high school passed through the Oklahoma State House of Representatives. Taylor Adams has more on that.
In an 80-18 vote, a new bill easily passing through the Oklahoma State House of Representatives. It would require high school juniors to take and pass the United States Citizenship Test as a new requirement for graduating. It was authored by Republican Representative Terry O'Donnell. News 4 reached out to him for an interview, but he wasn't available. However, he posted this video to his Facebook.
That would provide a baseline of information for high school students to know, because if you don't understand our democracy and where we've been and where we are going, then you're not going to have an appreciation for the freedoms and the rights and responsibilities that we have here in the United States.
But former high school teacher and now Democrat Representative Mickey Dollins says requiring yet another standardized test won't do students or teachers any favors.
Do I think that students need a great foundation of civics? Absolutely. And we have a curriculum for that. If the curriculum can be improved, I'm all for that. But I don't think adding an unfunded mandate to administer another standardized test is the way to go.
Democrat Rep. Emily Virgin also voting no, and she says the requirement is hypocritical. Posting on Facebook Monday, quote, one of the questions on the test asks about the powers of the judicial branch, and the correct answer involves the power of the judicial branch to decide if a law goes against the Constitution. However, just last week, the majority party passed a bill saying that we, as a state legislature, have the power to declare federal actions unconstitutional. How can we keep a straight face when we require students to learn concepts that we don't even follow?
Do I think that the majority of the House of Representatives could pass this test today? I would surely hope so, but I could make no guarantees. Given the amount of unconstitutional bills that are passed through this chamber each year, I don't think it's lost on them that they are unconstitutional. I think at the end of the day, they want to use it as a political hit piece going forward.
The bill still needs to pass through the Senate before it can become law, something Dollins hopes won't happen.
If this bill passes, I think it will have a negative impact on students and teachers, specifically teachers. It's just another unfunded mandate.
Taylor Adams, Oklahoma's News 4.
Okay, y'all, moving to the great state of Texas. This next story may have you saying, all right, all right, all right. Matthew McConaughey says he's seriously weighing the option of a gubernatorial race in his home state of Texas. If you don't live in Texas, you may want to move, because I think he'd look pretty good on a governor's sign. That's just me, though. When asked about it on Wednesday, the actor told a Houston podcast host it's a true consideration. And here, this isn't the first time the 51-year-old has publicly flirted with running for Texas' highest office. He actually made similar comments on a conservative radio show back in November. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is up for re-election next year. Hey, I may move to Texas if he gets elected governor. I'm just saying. Would be a pretty good interview. But hey, before we go, we got to talk about something else I love. Dogs. They're truly man's best friend. But what about a wingman? No surprise here. Dogs are a big plus when it comes to finding romance. It'll really get you a first date, and that's especially true for people using dating apps. A new survey from pet food company Honest Paws found that having a dog in your profile picture significantly improves your chances of finding a date. They say 60%, but I say 100%. 60% of people say they're more likely to match with someone who has their dog in their picture. According to the survey, Tinder is the most popular app for dog lovers, followed by Match and Bumble. There's just something about the dogs. I don't know what it is. Well, you may not find a connection with a person, but you always find a connection with the dog because they always got love to give. Thanks so much for clicking into Newsfeed Now. We're going to be back here tomorrow, Friday, to start your weekend off right. I hope you join us then. And, go find love or go adopt a dog. Bye.